Well, as Jessica mentioned, thanks so much for making the time to come spend time with us in this afternoon. My name is Gabby. I use she, they pronouns. I'm one of the project coordinators with Dream Summer at the Dream Resource Center with UCLA Labor Center. It's a mouthful. And I'm also an alum from the program. So I actually did the fellowship back in 2017. I was placed at SEIU 2015, where I work with long-term health workers, and I was actually my first time interacting with labor organizing, but it was also the first time that I got to interact with other undocumented youth, typically around my same age, and just being able to share our stories, what it meant to be undocumented and want to do advocacy work. So it was a very transformative experience for myself in that I got to learn and be part of this fellowship program, and got to be mentored by one of the policy analysts in SEIU 2015, and got to really learn a lot about just the work in supporting the communities. That's a little bit about myself, and I'm really excited just to now spearhead this program with Jessica, and really just have another successful Dream Summer as it has been in the past, 10 years. So I'll pass it on to my colleague, Jessica.
Hi, folks. It's a pleasure to have you all. Thank you for making the time to share some space with us today. My name is Jessica, she, her pronouns. And alongside Gabby, I was also an alumni of the program in 2019, and I was placed with Promesa Boyle Heights. And I did a lot of work in their rapid response team. And then I decided to reapply again in 2020 and was luckily selected. And this time around, I was placed at the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. So I did a little bit of a different work, doing a lot more research, policy-based work for those 8 weeks. And then in 2021, luckily, I'm able to lead the program now with Gabby, and really excited for this new year, and hopefully y'all are able to apply and have an interest in being a part of the program and the amazing networks that we have been able to create thanks to Dream Summer.
So we do have a lengthy agenda. We promise we'll be just mindful of the time. So just an overview of Dream Summer, more about the program layout. We'll definitely talk about the commitment piece and how to apply, some tips, and then hopefully room for questions and answers. So a little bit about Dream Summer. It's an annual national fellowship of the UCLA Labor Center, Dream Resource Center. Through Dream Summer, the DRC has provided over 800 fellowship opportunities to immigrant youth and allies, and has partnered with over 265 social justice organizations across the country. So something very exciting is that we're always looking to partner with different host organizations. So I know that sometimes I've heard folks saying, oh, it's only for UCLA students or only California folks. But really, we have partnered with different organizations in New York, in Texas, in Virginia. And so we're definitely always open to connect with other host organizations. So if you all have that in mind, there is a portion in the application, if you consider applying, to share those details with us. Another thing about Dream Summer is open to both experienced social justice leaders and those who wish to begin or strengthen their involvement in social justice. There is no requirement where you have to have a certain experience, background experience in social justice or organizing. This is a space where we want folks to learn from one another. The other thing is the fellowship is open to all immigrant youth, regardless of immigration status. Applicants do not need to be a student at UCLA or any college, high school to qualify for the fellowship. So we really aim to make this as accessible as possible, in that you don't need to be a college student, or really we'll go over requirements later in the presentation, but just wanted to highlight that. Dream Summer Fellows receive a 5,000 Fellowship Award, Leadership and Professional Development Training, and become part of the National Alumni Network of over 800 immigrant rights leaders. We actually just had an alumni reunion a couple days ago. And it was really awesome just to connect with folks through different cohorts. So I got to speak with folks that had been part of the program back in 2013, They're folks from 2019. And so just to hear those different experiences of how the program has been very transformative for them as well was really awesome to hear as we make changes, right? And then lastly, applications are now open and will close February 11. We're looking at the numbers like really skyrocketing. I know like at the end of like the last week, we really get a lot of more applications, but we're so excited that as this is our first year with Jessica to be able to read over these applications and for folks to trust us with their stories. So that's a little bit about Dream Summer.
And then just wanted to share some information about the Dream Resource Center. So it was created in 2010 when immigrant youth leaders were moved by the US Senate's failure to pass the Federal Dream Act to create a way of developing future leaders in the immigrant rights movement. So there was definitely a need to provide opportunities for undocumented folks given the federal's lack of support for undocumented folks. So the Dream Summer program was established as a direct result for that and as a direct result from that need. So it's been around 10 years now, 10 years. The first cohort was in 2011. So really excited to continue that legacy. And the program really focuses on empowering immigrant youth to be the next generation of social justice leaders through leadership development, movement building, and on-the-ground experience in social justice organizations. And we also want to create a safe and healing space for immigrant youth to be able to connect with one another and explore their identities and promote an intersectional, cross-racial, and multi-generated approach to social justice that addresses the needs of immigrant communities. So we're really, really taking that direction this year, as it has been for the past years, to make sure that we're intentional with our programming and intentional with the retreats. So hopefully it will be a really great, amazing year as it has been. And then just to share a little bit of the program layout. So the application is due February 11th, 2022, 12 p.m. noon PST. So make sure that you have all your documents ready, the application ready to go by then. And then the program is as follows. The opening retreat will happen around mid-June. It's going to last 3 to 4 days from June 16 to the 18th. And then afterwards, you'll be placed at your host organizations for 8 weeks. Your first day of work will be June 20th, and then your last day of work at your organization will be August 15th. Then afterwards, we'll have the closing retreat, which will happen mid-August, again, 3 to 4 days, August 17th to the August 20th. So that's just how the program will be and has been for the couple years too.
As Jessica mentioned, something to keep in mind is that should we do the retreat in person, usually folks that are coming from out of state will have to travel for the retreat only in the duration of those 3 days, and as well as the closing retreat. So we do want to share just some helpful information when it comes to traveling while being undocumented. And we know that it's can be anxiety provoking for folks. A quick disclaimer though, this information that we'll share is not intended to serve as legal advice and is not a substitute for obtaining legal advice from a qualified attorney. And as mentioned, it's just in this slide, this source was from Immigrants Rising. They have other more helpful information in terms of just traveling while undocumented. And so just something to keep in mind for domestic flights, all travelers flying on domestic flight must present a valid unexpired photo ID issued by the state or federal government. And undocumented individuals may use the following forms of ID accepted by TSA. Feel free to please take a screenshot, but again, I would definitely guide you all to check out Immigrants Rising and their guide on traveling. And definitely, if you have access to folks that are qualified to just give you a little bit more guidance, depending on your situations, right? So folks, I have different circumstances. We definitely encourage that, just given that it really, at the end of the day, is just in TSA, it's up to them at the end of the day. So we can share this information, but definitely want you all to take the precautions, and please let us know if you have a specific circumstance. You can email us and then we'll be able to provide other resources as well. But just wanted to share just a quick traveling tip. And then I believe that next slide is also some other helpful tips. In regards to preparing for a flight, have identification ready. Make sure that when you book your flight, the name on your ticket is exact match with the ID you will be using. So whether that's a foreign passport or that's a state ID, just ensure that you have those ready. I'm not sure if we covered it already, but flights are covered by the fellowship. And so you'll be in communications with our team just in terms of those next steps, should you be one of the fellows that is traveling outside of California or LA. Second thing, just secure your devices. The government is allowed to ask you for your phone, but you do not have to provide your password. Keep your information secure. Protect your devices with a number or more security password as opposed to pattern or fingerprint. It's pretty standard. And then probably one of the biggest tips is just develop a safety plan in case you get stopped. Designate at least 2 people to have access to your important documents and contact info if you're an attorney or community organization, family or friends. And specifically would be also folks at the DRC, so Jessica, myself, and the other folks that will be supporting. And we really hope that that circumstances don't happen where folks feel at risk, but we definitely want to be transparent about just how anxiety broken that might be for folks. And then definitely share your flight information with them before traveling and discuss what to do in case anything should go wrong. And in terms of Dream Summer requirements, as I mentioned earlier, there aren't many. Really, it's just folks need to be over 18 years old, and there's no age gap. And you have a valid IT or social security number. And typically this is because that is how we process payments, and have demonstrated interest or experience working in immigrants' rights. And then there are other additional items to keep into consideration for folks that have been working at the UC system. And so I would definitely guide you all to please review the application guide and the frequently asked questions, as it offers a lot more background for folks that have been employed within the UC system, not including UCLA students.
And then just to share some of the organizations that we have worked with organizations through nationally. It just really depends on where fellows are going to be that summer, right? So we have worked with Define America, Mi Gente, the Undocumented Network, and you're going to be a part of an alumni network of over 850 social justice leaders. We have worked with over 250 social justice organizations in 20 different states. So it's really important for y'all to be as detailed as you can in your application of where you're going to be that summer, because we are not providing, we don't provide relocation stipends. You're going to be working at where you'll be staying during that summer. So if you're selected in a state outside of California, you're able to work where you are in that summer, as I mentioned previously. And then for just more details on host organization placements, you're going to be working for 8 weeks. It's going to be a full-time fellowship. You're going to be working 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday. Your schedule and the different projects that you work on are going to be dependent on the organization that you're placed at. Some of the projects that fellows have worked on has been policy research, community outreach, community meetings, social media marketing, and policy analysis. So it just kind of depends on what your interests are. And we really tailor them to what your future career goals could be. So again, that's something that you should mention very detailed on your application, because that's how you're going to be determining who you're going to be paired with in terms of your host organization. So we just try to find the best match for you, for your interest, but we also try to match the needs of the host organizations and the kind of applicants that they're looking for. So as long as your interest falls within anything social justice related, or even if it's just you're interested in doing social media marketing, right? That's also something that a lot of host organizations are looking for, an experience, or are willing to guide you really to as well.
It's something very major that we want to share, not to scare folks out. Really, it's just the commitment of this program and the expectations. Right, it is a 40-hour commitment per week during those 10 weeks. So it would be a full-time job. And I know that some folks might have some part-time jobs or might be considering summer school. So we definitely encourage folks to not do summer school because just it oftentimes conflicts with your schedule. So ultimately you will know what that scheduling would be. So definitely feel free to just reach out to us if you have any questions in terms about that time commitment. And as we mentioned before, there is an opening retreat, which will take place June 16 to 18. And it is a requirement for folks just to be in community with other members, right? So during this retreat, we really focus on preparing folks to go into the fellowship. So we have had trainings on just like mental health, because that summer is just goes by so fast and folks are doing so much that there's definitely, we wanna just emphasize the importance of taking care of ourselves as we're doing this type of work. So not only do we get to build community with one another, but we also just have some of the soft skills in preparation for the work that you'll be doing during the summer. And similarly, during closing retreat, which will take place August 17 to 19, this is just a space for debrief, for reflection, again, to just continue building that community with one another. As well as just other workshops that the fellows have either facilitated or we brought in guests. So some folks have done facilitation on graduate school. Entrepreneurship is a major one that always keeps up as a really popular one with Miliana Perez, who works with Immigrants Rising. Other folks have done, I think for mine, it was very much like, I mentioned this in previous sessions, but it was like a dancing type of workshop that was facilitated by one of the fellows that was there, and it was really awesome just to kind of close out the whole summer, and so it was a lot of fun. So not all of them are so like work or professional related, but more so about debrief and reflecting and really being in community again. In regards to remote, in-person, and hybrid, it is very important that you can more so see where you see your comfort level being for the summer. I know that is very difficult to ask for folks, but there is a section in the application where just share out if you feel more comfortable remote, in-person, hybrid. Most of organizations that we've spoken to are very flexible. And I say most just because the nature of the work for certain organizations do require some in-person activities, right? But we definitely want to prioritize the safety and just the comfort of our fellows. So we will do our best to match you with what you designate on your application with what the host organizations can accommodate. But just want to be transparent about that. We are obviously also monitoring just the everlasting changes of COVID. So give us grace, and we also give you all grace. So if you could maybe, in person, but you just don't feel comfortable yet, please, we just ask that you communicate with us. And of course, we will do our best to just accommodate safety of y'all. I want to get that really straight, that it's just, it's very important for us. So we definitely want to ensure that folks feel safe and comfortable as they're doing this fellowship. Another thing to keep in mind is just expenses. As I mentioned before, flights, hotels, and food are covered for the duration of both the opening and closing retreat. However, anything outside of that, it isn't. So that I believe Jessica shared this as well. Relocations ensure that if you wherever you're expecting to live during the summer, that is in close distance to your host organization, because we do not provide. We do not cover those expenses unless the host organization can cover it, which I know that we do have some host organizations that require some traveling and they do cover some expenses. But yeah, typically it's just the opening and closing, and we do expect folks to spend about 50 to 100 outside of that. But it really depends on what folks want to do during those opening retreats or outside of those retreats. So just something to keep in mind, and it's also just detailed in the application guide and frequently asked questions, I believe. In regards to placements, just as I mentioned, right, if, depending on where you'll be during the summer, just ensure that you either have a transportation or a way to get to the host organization. So select the city in where you feel comfortable that there's, if you have a host organization in mind, or if in the past you've known that we work with those organizations, please detail that in your application. We just wanna ensure that it's accessible for you to, if there's gonna be a requirement to travel, but just keep that in mind as you complete the application on where you would like to be placed, and somewhere where it's accessible, and somewhere where you know, the commute might not be too long, should it be in person, right? So that's always a disclaimer. So should it be in person, just ensure that that's something that you can share in your application, so that it helps us better match you with a host organization that can be accommodating to any need that you might have. Something very big is also the fellowship award. At this time, we will only distribute the fellowship award at the end of the fellowship. And we recognize that that is a huge just commitment for folks, right? Because of just livelihoods. So we do ask folks to just budget accordingly. And I know that's a huge ask. And we're doing our best to just better improve this payment process, but it's at the moment, that's the process that we have to follow. So the fellowship award would be at the end or the completion of the fellowship. So we want to be very transparent with folks about that. Another expectation for the fellowship is weekly check-ins with supervisors. So folks will have supervisors with their host organizations where they will receive their projects that they will do during the summer. But you will also have a supervisor with the DRC team. So either myself, Jessica, and or Georgia program manager, or we have other folks that will be supporting, or even I believe this year we'll also do some alumni that could supervise folks. And those check-ins are a lot more informal. We really just want to get to know what the work that y'all are doing, if y'all need any support, any facilitations in having conversations with your supervisor, with the work that you're doing, or any anything that you might need. So we just really want to ensure that we're doing the best that we can supporting the work that y'all are going to be doing during the summer. Another expectation is the opening and closing retreat do have a survey, and this is very important as it ensures that we just improve the programming overall. We know that there's some gaps. We know that there's always going to be room for some improvements. So your knowledge and all of that is extremely important to us. So we want to ensure that we do the best that we can in always improving the programming that we do. So there is a short opening retreat survey and a short closing retreat survey. So that's definitely another expectation of the program. And then just as I mentioned just throughout, right, it's just constant communication. You should be selected, communicate any changes to, you know, if you've had previously thought that it was going to be, you were going to be able to commit those 40 hours, but something happens, right? Life just happens. We understand that folks are, you know, it's very difficult times right now overall, just with the pandemic. So at that layer, so we just want to ensure that folks can communicate with us, with their supervisor and host organization, and we can figure out how best to support folks should they need that support.
And just to share some tips with y'all in terms of what we're looking for in applicants, we definitely prioritize folks with a lived experience in immigration issues. So we welcome all and any applicants to apply, but we do prioritize non-DACA folks in the application process. And we highly encourage LGBTQ plus non-DACA folks to apply, and for y'all to be flexible and adaptable. I think it's just really challenging times right now. So we just ask for folks to be able to work with us throughout these 10 weeks to make sure that you have a really great time at your placements, and to make sure that you are taking out what you need from this program. I think that's definitely one of our main priorities, that you are able to maximize your time with us, because it's short, but it's very meaningful. And I think it's a really great opportunity for learning and unlearning in these spaces. So we definitely ask that for folks. And then individuals seeking to grow personally and professionally and willing to be challenged. Like I said, they're very short weeks, but they're very meaningful. And we really definitely ask for folks to be open to learning and be open to being in the space that we're going to be providing, and being present and being in community. I think those are very important. One of the most important things that I took away from being a participant myself, just the importance of being in community and sharing that space. So we definitely ask folks to be willing to engage in those aspects.
Thank you, Jessica. And just a little bit about how to apply. Of course, that's application is live and it will close again on February 11. So you would just need to visit our website. And then Jessica, I believe you'll be able to put it on the chat if possible. But there is an application guide and a frequently asked questions. So we ask that you please read through them, as it would help you answer the questions and just for us to avoid any issues with your application or with matching processes. There is an online application with the questions, very basic information, personal information, other details like your major, your minor, and things like that. So that should take about 30 to 60 minutes, depending on what, how fast you are. But there is another component of the application in which it requires you to upload a resume, of course, the essay prompts, and a letter of recommendation. So if you do that beforehand, then that would typically take you 60 minutes, depending on if you have those materials already ready. And just as an advice and tip, just save your stuff because for whatever reason, right, if something should happen, you have that as a backup. Yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of just the application process. Very basic information. We just ask that you read it thoroughly, so that you can provide us with just as much information as you can on what you want to get from this fellowship. What should we be looking for in terms of the host organization that you prepare with, so that it's a good match and it's a good experience, and both you're able to grow professionally and learn and be mentored by the host organizations, and they're also able to just value all the knowledge and skills that you'll be bringing in. And this is just another, just how the application looks like if folks haven't had the chance to. Just multiple sections, and again, just reading through all the directions and the important notes. We provided just kind of disclaimers and just also reminders for folks. So please read it thoroughly. If you have any questions, again, we'll provide you with our email that you can reach us. We respond within a day. So should you have any questions about any portion of the application or any of the notes that are included, please feel free to let us know.
And then just to talk a little bit about the written section of the application. So you are going to be asked to write some prompt responses in the application and submit it as a PDF. So these prompts are already in the application guide. And so please take a look at them. So once you start the application, you know what prompts and what you need to answer, right? So these are the essay response. We do require folks to submit a resume. And then we require folks to submit one letter of recommendation from a professor, supervisor at an organization, past employer, student organization, faith group, anyone that could really talk about your character, talk about what work you have done and your goals as well. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be from someone like a professor or with a high, quote unquote position. It's just someone that has worked with you and knows what your goals are, and that can definitely give us an idea on who to pair you with. So please just think wisely about who you're going to ask for, but also don't feel too much pressure that we don't look at any recommendations from anyone, again, quote unquote, like from a high position. That's not something that we're actively looking for. And then the last part, we do have an optional, so you can submit any additional documents that showcase any of your creative or professional skills. If you do flyers for your student organization, or if you have a really amazing paper that's relevant to the work that you're doing. I think I submitted my thesis, my senior thesis once. So anything that helps just gives us a holistic idea of who you are and the kind of work that you have done and would want to do in the future is really helpful.
I think I just would want to add for the resume portion, again, nothing specific in terms of just formatting, but more so just really share anything specific that could allow us to match you with the host organization or the work that you'll be doing. But please feel free to share just any relevant experience. And I think that would be it for in terms of resume, nothing really specific.
And then just to share some tips, when you are writing this application, make sure that your essays are short but concise. You don't have to write such a lengthy, we don't look at word count. We just look at the content and make sure you're addressing the question appropriately. I think that is the number one advice that I can give you all. Just make sure that in your response, you answer the question. You look at the question, you think critically about it, and you answer it and address it in your response. And then once again, be wise about who you choose as your recommender, but it doesn't have to be anyone from a specific position. Just someone who has seen you grow, has worked with you, can speak on your character is important. Highlight your ability to work independently, as we said. Working at a host organization, sometimes you are paired with other fellows, but sometimes you are by yourself, right? So we definitely are looking for applicants that can work independently, and also because you might some folks might be remotely. That's also something that we ask from folks. And then highlight any previous work done in immigration or describe how Dream Summer would help achieve your career goals. The fellowship is not just about folks who have done work in immigration, but we definitely do want to see folks that understand the program and how this program is going to help you, right? Like that is our main priority, how Dream Summer will help you achieve the goals that you have, and making sure that we're compensating for your labor. That is the highlight of the program, and it doesn't necessarily, even if you feel like you don't have enough experience or whatnot, the last bullet point is to not sell yourself short. Like you are all more than capable. The work that you have done, even as minimal as you feel that it may be, it's really important. And we see you, and don't feel just because you have limited experience that, oh, I'm not going to be chosen, right? Like that. No, like the point of the program is to be able to give you that experience and to be able to give you those resources. So don't sell yourself short. Show yourself off. We wanna hear about the work that you are doing. We want to hear about the work that you want to do. And we are rooting for you. We're rooting for you, and we're really hopeful that you are all, we know that you're all amazing and have done amazing work. So please highlight that in your application.
Yeah, I just want to echo that last bullet point. I know that it's might not be as concrete of a tip, but really don't tell yourself no. And just we are very honored that folks want to share their stories with us, so we definitely want to be respectful of that. But definitely I know that for myself, even as an applicant, I was just like, that is not relevant, or this I shouldn't include. But only like even your lived experiences alone hold so much knowledge, so we definitely have a lot of value for that. There you go.
And then I know that we had talked about retreats being in person, right? So we just wanted to share that although right now we have planned for retreats to be in person, we are monitoring the COVID situation. Our main priority is to make sure that fellows are safe. So we are still in the fence about whether we're going to proceed with the program in person or in virtual, but we're going to communicate with you all as much as we can. And once we make that decision based on how COVID regulations are, how COVID numbers are going, that's something that we're taking into account, because again, we want to make sure that you are all safe and that, we're keeping our community safe. And COVID is just always changing, unfortunately, but our hope is that we can have these retreats in person. because, you know, sharing in community is really valuable to us, but keeping you all safe is also equally as important. So please have some grace with us as we continue to monitor, and we'll communicate again. We'll communicate as soon as we have made a concrete decision closer to the retreat date. But you all will hear about once that decision is made. And then just to recap, again, the application is going to be due February 11th at 12 p.m. noon PST. So make sure to have your documents ready. Here's our website, and then also our social media information. And there you'll hear any urgent updates about the application. Any like broad communication will be done in our social media. Thanks to Sylvia, who's supporting us here today. So yeah, please make sure to take a look at the website, take a look at the application guide, take a look at the frequently asked questions. There's just a lot of information there that could be helpful for you all.
I think definitely wanted to, as a last note, or email. Please, if you have any specific question in regards to anything that you might be wondering of the application is not clear, please feel free to email us and we will respond as soon as we can. So definitely want to uplift that we're here to support, and it is a lengthy process. It's a lot. It's a very long application. But so definitely take your time with it, and should you have any questions, please, it would also help us just in improving the application process overall. But as Jessica mentioned, it will be due February 11, 2022 at 12 p.m. And we definitely want to thank you. That actually concludes our presentation. I know that's a lot of information in just a short amount of time, so we will move on to some questions, and we want to share just our contact information screenshotted. And again, we'll share that this contact information is also on our website, but whatever is easier for you. But I believe now we do have some time for some questions. If we don't have time for like any particular question, please email us. And I know that we're keeping track of any questions, so we'll make sure to just share any info that we might have missed for whatever reason. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen.